Welcome back. It has been quite a while since I have done a video on David E. Taylor, and I've been wanting to do one for quite some time. And here I am. And I have a guest today who is going to be sharing his account, his experiences of what he saw, what he endured in that cult. And he is not going to be showing his face. So when I do bring him on, we have blacked out his camera and we are going to be using a pseudonym. So he has an incredible story that I want you all to hear. I know you're going to be encouraged by it. So I'm going to be doing quite a few things. So this is how it's going to go today. This might be a lengthy video because I haven't done it in a while. And you all know, if you've been watching any of the other videos, tons of channels out there, particularly Rich Holmes with Full Frontal Investigations. He does videos all the time on this. He gets a lot of information. He's dedicated to this. But Kathleen Klein, another person in that cult, she has been indicted. So I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to be showing some videos. I'm going to be talking about the superseding indictment because it's a new indictment because it now includes Kathleen Klein. So there's a lot of things about, what's going on here that I want to share. So, all right, so let's do this. I am going to bring Michael on. That's a pseudonym. So I'm going to bring him on and we're going to get started. Michael, thank you for coming on.
Hey, thank you for having me.
I am
Um,
very pleased that you have decided to join and talk about what you went through with David E. Taylor's cult, whatever you want to call it. I know everybody calls it different things, but it was called JMMI and then it changed to KOGGC.
yes,
And you were
yes,
there for both?
for both. Yeah, I like to call it the hybrid, but I was there for both.
So, how old were you when, typically I ask people to tell us about themselves, but in this particular situation, I'm not. So, just so that the audience knows, we're going to just get right into it. So, how old were you when you joined that organization?
Yeah, so it was uh 2015 when I first got heard about the call the ministry, and I was 19 years old, and then I fully became like full time, as they say, like staff full time when I was 20 in 2016. So 20 years old.
So, when you went on staff full time, was there a specific title?
For like uh oh well, no, we're just known as the staff.
Okay.
Now there are, as you know, there's the call centers.
Yes.
There are call centers that where the staff will take incoming and also do outgoing calls uh for prayer, different things like that, getting donations. Um, and we were, we a lot of times, hey, this is Pastor so and so, on the behalf of David E. Taylor, Apostle David E. Taylor, and then going from there.
So, were you directed to identify yourself as a pastor if you were talking to someone?
Yeah, yeah. Because uh, David encouraged it, and honestly, at times, you he wanted you to be called pastor, or and then other times he'll give you another name, missionary or evangelist. Whatever the situation called for, that's the name will be brought, if that makes sense.
Okay. Hey, and I forgot to ask you about this when we were talking. We've talked a couple times, but there's a boot camp that they had. Were you familiar with a boot camp that David Taylor had in Ocala, Florida?
Oh yes,
Okay.
100%, yes.
The
um
reason I bring that up just because I mean, was there training that you had to go through in order to become staff?
no, so the boot camp, so like I when I mentioned earlier, so you had the call center, right?
Hmm.
And no matter what position you had in the ministry, in the place, no matter if you were on the praise and worship team during the church, if you were finances, or if you were media, no matter what you were, you still had to close. You still had to be on phones and get people to sow into the ministry. And so what David did, that was always going on for years. But then there's a time David was like, He set up this boot camp, what he called boot camp, so that he can do a intensive training to get the staff to be able to bring in more money than usual.
That was the purpose.
That was the sole purpose. Yes.
How long approximately was the training? Do you recall?
Oh man, the it was supposed to be. I forget like the dates, but it was supposed to be like for maybe like a week or 2 weeks. But then if the numbers weren't looking good after a certain amount of time, boot camp again. We got to go back to the training. We got to
Oh,
go. Yes. And what it consisted of is what we see why he is locked up right
I noticed that
now.
you use the word close, and I just that just stuck out to me when you said it because in the indictment, that's used when when they're reciting the text messages. So it talks about closers a lot. What can you explain to us what that is?
Yeah, as it's crazy when you think about it now. But as just like at a dealership, maybe somebody or a client closing somebody for a deal, or you're
Right.
selling a product. That's exactly what Michelle and David will, after a call. Did you close them? Did you get, how much did you close them for? Oh, they gave 1,000. That exactly like a transaction, a business deal. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, Michael, before you went into David's ministry, had you ever been a part of any other ministry before that? I mean, I know you were young, but were you ever part of any other ministry before that?
Oh yeah. Vanessa, I love God. I love Jesus, and I have big heart for God. Definitely grew up. Went to a church with my family where I'm from. And yeah, it being going to church and is just having living that lifestyle, Christian lifestyle, has always been big to me and my family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When you got to, well, let's do this. Which facility did you go to when you joined?
When I first joined, it
Yeah.
was in Taylor, Michigan,
Yeah.
at the headquarters.
Yeah.
And this was 2016. So this is actually before all these other mansions were purchased. There
Right.
was there was actually one mention that David had that was in St. Louis, Missouri, 10 page.
Yeah.
He had that one, but the one in Ocala, Florida, the other one in Missouri, Hager, Wild Horse, all these different locations, he didn't have yet. That came later,
Yep.
and everybody, most of the full time, were living in the church building upstairs in
In
the headquarters
Taylor.
in Taylor. Yeah.
Yeah. And I've seen, I mean, I worked in Taylor, but a long time ago. Um, and so then I don't know if you know who Jeff Norton is. I had him on a couple months ago, and he had a video that went viral, and he was in front of that building, and I saw it's a pretty big building.
Oh yes. It's so interesting you mentioned that because I remember when that happened. I was there full time when that happened,
Really?
and yes, and the gentleman that was in the video, the one who actually said the N word,
Yes.
and yeah, I do remember him getting a big correction by Michelle and David in front of the whole staff, because they
Wow.
would do rebukes, and the point of the rebuke was you made the ministry look bad, basically. That was the point. I remember that. Yeah.
Wow. So you were there when that was going on outside?
Yes, I was.
Oh
Yes,
my
I
gosh.
was.
You remember what year that was?
God, I forget what year that was. Oh, man,
I mean,
was
I
that
know.
19 or 18? I can't
Yeah.
quite remember. I do remember it was early in the morning. Had to be early in the morning because you can tell. And some of the people out there, like there was a you notice there was an armor bearer that came out, and he was questioning.
Yes.
Yeah, and
This
then there
one young
was
man who was thin, I remember that. He was
yes,
questioning Jeff,
that
and then
yes.
Joseph came out, and then that I'll just say, I mean, he just was acting like a lunatic, that other guy that was getting
Right,
in Jeff's face.
right. And uh that guy who was acting like a lunatic, and there was another guy that was there. I think he had on red. I don't know, remember, like it was a party the day before or something like that.
I don't remember that, but yeah.
Oh, but they were doing him, the one that was acting like a lunatic, and him. They were doing security that night.
Okay.
All yeah. So there was always security rounds every night. Uh, if you were called to do security or phones, take the incoming calls during the night. Yeah. So
While you were there, were there any threats against the ministry or any threats against the particular people there? Do you recall?
um, we like threats like, oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Because the correcting and the rebukes which happen all the
Oh,
time.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Michael. What I meant, because you said the security, we'll get into that, what you saw, but I
Okay.
just wanted to ask from the outside coming in, because you said they had security. So I was just curious, were there
Oh,
any
I
threats
see.
from the outside against the, like David or Michelle or anybody or anything like
You
that as to why they had the security?
mostly, and I came to understand this being there after some years, is that mostly the security was for, if yes, it was painted the picture like, protection and safety, but through the years you just realize, like, whatever's going on inside, David definitely wants to protect that. um like what I mean is, like, the closing, the stuff
Yeah.
like that, that whole organization that's going on. And the reason why I can say that and know that is because I, even during times when the mansions did come and we were closing the mansions, we will set up tables. We'll have a whole little place where, all set up where we can call people getting donations. And let's say that day we're closing, somebody's coming to the house because they need to, I don't know, there's an inspection, or they need to fix something or clean something, like, like a worker coming.
Right.
um we hid everything. We had to make it look like a normal living room, and everybody had to hide in the rooms or different things like that. So it was
Oh,
just for hiding and protecting, honestly.
oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
Okay. So go ahead and share whatever you want to tell us. What did you see happening there while you were there?
yeah. I would like to say it like this, because if you follow David, if there's people who are watching, they followed David for many years, you see a lot the crusades, you see the miracles, and you are him praying and people getting healed. You see, like, what just looks supposed to look good, and just Christianity, and just, but the thing is, you don't know what's going on in the inside, the internal workings. And in fact, when I read some of these court documents, I hear I hear the prosecution using the scripture, wolf in sheep clothing. Like, they literally use
Yes.
that terminology, because inside, it's much different than what you see on the outside. Inside, there are harsh rebukes if you've done something wrong. You constantly, getting up, you of course, you normal day, like, you'll get up early, really early, you do your morning prayer, and then immediately going on phones, getting on phones to, of course, um get donations. And we do that by praying for people. We're doing that by, talking to people, sometimes just checking in on people. And there's a way we had to do it. We had to do it in a way where, David was, we had to honor him over the phone. In fact, that was part of the boot camp training. Is how what we're trained what to say, and we had to always make people feel like David wanted to call them personally. Like, I'll give you an example. Like,
Yeah.
hey, Vanessa, this is Minister so and so. The man of God wanted me to personally call you. David, the apostle wanted me to talk to you. You were on his mind. You were on his heart. and he just wanted to know how you're doing. We had to make people feel like that,
Right. I've heard
honestly.
that. Yep.
Yes. And and once we got that, talk to them, and then we always had to, end it off with giving. And there was always ways to uh uh cause people to give bigger than what they would normally give. Like another example would be, and this is a part of the boot camp training. And I say this, I just want to say this, quote unquote. Like now that I look back on it, it's like, wow, I can't believe I was doing this.
Yeah.
But when you're there, you're kind of drinking the Kool-Aid, like we're doing it for God. But yeah, but there's ways of getting people to sow more. If they sowed 100 the last month, how can we get them to give 500? Like, hey, the man of God saw that you gave 100 last month. But he knows you can do bigger this month because God is about to do bigger in your life. Just using these
Oh,
type of
yeah.
words to get people to give stuff like that.
And that was
Um,
what you were trained to do through that boot camp in Ocala?
That's what we were trained to do. Yes. And now a regiment came with that training. If you don't make these numbers that David is asking for, you not only there's consequences
Right.
involved. Yeah.
You're using words that are in the text, that are in the indictment. I'm going to get to that later.
Mm.
But when you say that the regiment, he uses that word in some text. He uses of course, the consequences. And so, if you was were different people given different goals, or were people given the same goals? How did that work to obtain a certain amount of money?
Oh, that's a great question. So, um, they were known as top closers,
Okay,
and then there was known as lower closers, and then there was depending on your numbers, he will call you like the top, like he always used the top nine. These are the top nine closers who are closing effective, he will say, inside the ministry, who are doing who are closing really high numbers. Then you had the a lower nine, and then and then just a really bottom low, he will call people. And so if you were making if you were making or closing high numbers, then yeah, he had a goal, an objective for you to reach. And if you were lower, he had that. So there were levels to it.
okay. Were you ever paid?
No, absolutely not.
I know. I just had to ask,
And I want to throw in there really quick, and this wasn't just involved, being not just being paid, but the work wasn't or we weren't just uh supposed to be on the phones. Yes, that was one of the main things, but there was so much other work going on in labor, hard labor going on that we were not paid for.
Like what?
Oh man, like simply so if the sanctuary, if anyone's seen videos or pictures of the sanctuary, you see the carpet, you see the chairs, you also see in on the when you look up, all those lights,
Yeah.
all of that was done by the staff. And there was times we couldn't go to sleep. David said nobody gets sleep until the sanctuary looked a certain type of way. That means moving carpet. We had to build stages. Things that you usually would get professionals to do and things like that.
Right.
We had to figure it out. But getting on a ladder, putting up all these lights throughout the night, and if you're found sleeping, you rebuked, get up, finish it, things like that.
How long would you have to stay up sometimes to do these things?
Oh my God. It depended on the assignment, I guess, because there was another thing. There's these mailers that David liked to do, meaning he would send out mail to all his supporters, ask them to donate, or flyers if he's having a
Right.
crusade. And that sometimes was thousands. And he wanted, all of us to do, or sometimes he would have a skeleton crew to do those mailers, which it could be so much, and you could not go to sleep until all of them were done.
My gosh.
Yes, and I remember that was one of the first times. That was assigned to me when I first got there. That's when I realized, oh snap! Like this is this is a hard place because I remember we all fell asleep because he got a skeleton crew to do it, and I remember when Michelle rebuked us the next morning. You guys didn't finish it. No sleep tonight. You're gonna get it done. Yeah, and yeah.
So when you
So
guys are staying upstairs, living essentially on that Taylor property on Superior Road, where's Michelle and David staying?
yeah, so I'll have to say this because you just brought a memory. So the all the guys were staying in the building
Okay.
upstairs. Yes,
Okay.
and then Michelle and the women had like a separate house at this time,
Okay.
so they would come early in the morning, be on the phones all day, and then the women and Michelle would leave and go to this house, whatever the house that they were staying at.
Okay.
Um, so and Michelle, yeah, she had her room and things like that. David, is it's interesting because I David will come simultaneously. He wasn't always there at the building, but he will show up. And when he showed up, it was like we had to treat him like he's the president of the United States. You have to stand at attention, your hands behind your back. If he walks in the
What?
room, yes, you have
I
to
never
stand.
heard that.
Yeah, when he walked in the room, you had to stand up, and if you didn't stand up, oh yeah, but it's like Michelle. If she noticed you didn't stand up, and once David left, she will get on you about that. How dare you didn't stand up when the apostle walked in the room, or things like that. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. Okay. So there are allegations, the food deprivation. Obviously, you've talked about sleep deprivation. You said hard labor. Are there other things that they made you do physically?
Okay, so you have, yeah, the hard labor. You have there's different assignments, like there's even the I know the media team, and those are all the videos, all those videos that you're seeing that's on his broadcast. The media team makes that,
Right.
and the media team were constantly rebuked for not getting videos right, or if their edit was wrong, or if they put a clip of him that he didn't like, and they worked like throughout the night all the time. Like even after they got off phones, they had to go straight to the meeting room and edit projects, things like that. In fact, when I was reading the indictment, I was reading it and I saw something about the mosaic video. I immediately understood, like, wow, like, yeah, because there's a lot of rebukes towards, and media was like one of the biggest things David was always on
Right.
and adamant about, because
Yeah.
he had that public image he wanted to portray and keep.
Yeah, for sure. And I remember those videos where he was always just reprimanding people while he was allegedly preaching. I mean, I don't know if he really was, but it was weird. Is the mosaic where they would have the Zoom and all the people are behind him on the video? Is that the mosaic or is that something else?
That's actually something else. So the
Oh,
mosaic video was because I remember it was actually supposed to be about how he's the Moses of this generation, kind of showing how he
oh,
the relatability, things like that. Yeah.
okay. Biblical. I don't know why I was thinking it was like the pictures because that's what it reminds me of. But you know
It
what I'm
all came.
talking about, that screen where there's all the people on Zoom in the background.
Yeah, so you're talking about the oh god, what the miracle in marble
Yeah,
training,
Miracles
the
in
we
America.
can, yeah,
Yeah,
we can walk in electricity powers, we can movers, shakers, screamers, we can walk through that type of stuff. Yeah.
yeah, right. Those poor media people. And they
Yeah.
still have that channel going. It's David E. Taylor, Miracles in America. And I know you and I, before we got on, because I'm going to be sharing the video later, but you said that you did watch the one that was published yesterday, and is it Kia Jones?
Kid Jones, yep. Yeah,
Yeah.
one
Did
of
you
the
know her?
I did. She's actually one of the top nine, the top closers.
Okay.
Yeah. She closed
Yeah.
over $1 million in the ministry, by the way.
Oh my.
Through
Okay.
through through the each month, how it adds up to 1 million when I
Right.
was there, yeah, she was one of the top closers. I think she's also been promoted to like vice president or something since David's been away, stuff like that.
Yeah. Did you
Yeah.
get a chance to watch the video? And just to my audience, we're going to watch it later. So just
I
so you know, we're going to watch it. It's crazy. But did you get
yes,
a chance to watch it?
I did. I honestly did. And this was my first thought about it. I'm gonna be honest with you. My first thought was this. If I knew nothing about David in the ministry and I listened to this video, perhaps I would co-sign with what she was saying. I'm just gonna be
Wow.
honest. It was
Wow.
like, wow, like okay, I see it. You know, she tried to show some emotion, some empathy,
Yeah.
some passion. But then you start remembering what happens in the internal workings of that place, and you're like, but she's lying about everything.
Right.
These are all lies, and
Right.
you can't sugarcoat it. You can't change it. And then one thing I also noticed is when I watched her video, when I'm watching all these people, they're still supporting and they're saying that the FBI is lying. One thing I noticed is they never go through what is in the indictment or talk about like the what
Never.
it's like they go around that,
You're right.
and it's like, why aren't you dealing with the fact that there's a text message that says nobody can eat until they close this number. There is no sleep, that they can't talk about it. And it's like, honestly, that's you're giving a bunch of scriptures and you're trying to sound preachy and all that, and but once you know what I mean,
Right.
and that's the point.
Right. So being in there for all those years, like, and I know you've told me too, but I know from other people, you couldn't have relationship with other people while you were there.
Oh yeah, that was a big no-no. That was a big no-no. You could not have relationships um with anybody. It was a separation. That's kind of why the women would leave towards the end of the night. And if you were found out about having any type of relationships, you get harshly rebuked or kicked out.
Wow. Did you
Yeah.
know anyone who got kicked out?
Oh, yes, I do. I
Okay.
know of a few actually through the
Okay.
years.
What would they get kicked out for?
If they were caught, it could be as simple as like, well, if you caught like just flirting, or if they found text messages, or if they found like text message between you and whoever, you get rebuked about it. If there's found to have like an actual relationship, or if there was relations, you get kicked out. And to be honest with you, Vanessa, there was things like that happening throughout, and people were dealt with, or kicked out, or got consequences. I know one guy was told to sleep in the garage because him and a woman, and once that was found out, he was told to sleep in the garage.
Is that the
And
garage in one of the homes in a different state?
yes, in a different state. This was actually Wild Horse.
Okay, that's St. Louis.
Yeah, St. Louis. Yeah, slept in the
Okay.
garage, and this was doing. I remember this too. I remember this was during Thanksgiving,
Okay, so a
and
few
he could
people.
not. This individual could not be around any of the staff who were like eating us eating the Thanksgiving food. We had to like somebody had to like take the plate to the garage and give it to him, and while he was in the garage.
Unreal.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, it's just so just angers me. It
yeah,
really angers me. And then in the indictment, there's making people go live in the garage in Tampa and Ocala. And I was
yep.
looking at those texts in those months. I mean, we have our AC on all the time here. You know, it's very rare that you turn it off. This year we did a little, like a couple weeks, but very rare. So if you are told to go live in the garage, even in April and May, that's going to be very uncomfortable. It's going to be hot,
Very,
you know?
very,
And
very,
so it's just insanity. But back to what you said about how, Kia was saying these things and just talking about it, really what they're turning it into is that David Taylor is getting persecuted for the gospel. I mean,
Percy.
that's what it is, right? But they're
Yeah,
ignoring everything. They're just talking about, oh, there was a gun in my face when they raided it, and the tanks came and all this. Well, the FBI was working this case up for years. And of course they're
oh
going to
yes,
come in because they had to infiltrate this extreme cult like enterprise. And you can tell us too. I know that David was getting everybody riled up in case something like that ever happened. He would tell you guys what to do in that circumstance.
Yeah. In fact, Vanessa, in 2021, 2020, we did a practice raid at Wild
What?
Horse. Yeah.
What? Tell us about that, please.
Yeah. So it was a normal day of closing. We're all on the phones in the house, just, on the phones, everybody from downstairs to upstairs to the topper floor. And then um, all of a sudden, it had to be about 7 or 8 guys. They just uh, ran, like they just came screaming at everybody. And these are full 8 guys, 8, 9. They're full time guys.
Okay.
Plus Michelle running, screaming at everybody, get off the phones. Took the phones. It got really quiet. Why are you here? Start questioning everybody, and that happened for like probably a good 5 minutes, right? And then Michelle stopped it. She said, and she was like, this was a training exercise to see how you guys will react during a raid, and everybody started laughing and things like that.
You were
And
informed beforehand that that was going to happen?
I don't think the first time we were informed, but then we did it again.
Okay.
So she did it again. And she was like, and some of you guys look stupid. You act like you were afraid. Why are you afraid? You supposed to know this is God's kingdom. That's how she would talk, stuff like that.
Right.
So we're gonna do it again. And they did it again. And then now they had the guys asking us questions like, why are you here? Where do you live? Da da da. And then after all of that, she, brung everybody together. She was like, okay, this person answered stupid. Why would you say that? You can't say that to the FBI. Da 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 da. You got to say this and that. But why would you say that was silly? That's how this training, things like that. And this was 2020,
2020.
2021.
Oh
Yeah,
my gosh. Oh, they knew.
they knew. They knew.
That's crazy. That's the first time I've heard of that.
But let me say they did it, because a lot of times they will say, oh, they knew because Jesus appeared to David and
Oh, right.
told him. Yeah, no, they knew because
Yeah. Face to face. Jesus told me the other day when we were hand in hand. Yes.
yeah. They knew because I imagine he heard some things, or he was always dealing with court stuff, with the deposition and things
Yeah.
like that, and so yeah.
Wow. Can you share any other things that you saw or anything that was, let's do this, anything in particular that was done to you?
Yeah, so I was thinking about this too, about the garage. I had mentioned that earlier. So I want to let you, this is, I want to show you the mindset, and if you had anything to say, how you were treated and things like that. There are certain times you would say certain things, and then they give you some comfort. They would say, then there's other times you say something and they will really rebuke you, or why would you think your heart is evil, your heart is dark. I remember I was getting corrected one night, and this was at Hager in Missouri, another mansion. I was getting corrected one night by Kia and Angel. There's another one of the top closers. But
What were they accusing you of doing for that you needed correction?
so actually, honestly, it was one night. I think, okay, yeah. It was after hours. I think this was a day when um okay, after you close, David kind of said like you can have some free time. He would do that sometimes, not all the time, but all right, you guys are done closing, go watch TV, watch a movie, something like that. This won't happen all the time, but sometimes he would do that. And you know how the men and the women are supposed to be separated. I remember, I think it was somewhere by the pool. I was kind of there was a girl that was there, that, yes, we it was found out that we did like each other 100%,
Yeah.
before, and they separated us. They told me and her not to talk to each other. We couldn't even look at each other. If one of us was in the same, if she was in a room that I was walking into, like the living room, I had to go into another room.
My gosh.
Yeah.
This is crazy.
Um, yes. And I think by the pool, I was kind of too close to her, and so Kia and the other lady, Angel, called me in the laundromat, and they started corrected me about it. Like, hey, why you that close? Whatever they were saying.
Right.
And I remember honestly, I spoke from my heart, and I told them I was like, hey, I'm gonna be honest, like, since this happened with this girl, or this was found out, I just been feel like you guys have been like on me like a hawk, and it's like I'm just not, it hurts because it's like I do want to be. That's how I was kind of saying it. I want to be trusted in the here in this ministry. I want to be trusted, but you guys are on me like, I wasn't trying to do anything. I mean, we're just there, and Kia and Angel, when they heard me, they were listening and they didn't really say anything, but they were like, well, still, you gotta follow, these commands, whatever. So this was at night, right? And they let me go. I remember going downstairs where all the men was. All the men were downstairs in this mansion, sleeping on like their beds or blow up mattresses, and all the women were upstairs. But it was late night, pitch black. All the lights are out. All of a sudden, I'm seeing a flash or a light on the phone. A little light on your iPhone, going through, walking around, and I know this light is looking for something, and it finds me, and the light is in my face, and then I hear this voice. It's a guy, one of the guys there. He says, hey, this is a text from Michelle. She wants you sleeping in the garage. You're going to be in the garage tonight. She says, how dare you dishonor this apostle and this ministry by saying you have no freedom here, da 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 da, whatever.
Oh,
So that night I had to like get get my blanket and a pillow and go upstairs and go in the garage and sleep and I slept on the floor that night. And I remember I felt so, I don't know the word. It hurt
I'm
so
so
bad because it was
sorry.
like I
Yeah.
was like, God, you know my heart. That's what I was saying at the time on the in the garage. Like, God, you know my heart. I wasn't trying to be dishonorable in any type of way, but that's how that went. So I remember that day because that was probably one of the first times like I really thought like dang man, like this is not fair. I felt like it wasn't
Right.
fair. Yeah.
It's very ironic is that they claim that David and Michelle and well all of them that they're being persecuted for Christ. But you guys are actually being persecuted for Christ because you're doing this for Christ. And this is the behavior, this is the abuse that you're enduring because you believe that you're doing this for Christ,
Yeah.
right?
Can I can I say what they would tell you if you were to say that there? I already know
Oh,
immediately what's going to happen. If Kia were to hear it or Michelle, don't you dare equalize with Apostle. You're not David.
oh, what did somebody ever say that to them?
Oh, many of times.
Okay.
They'll be like, don't you ever equalize with him. He's carrying the weight of the world on his shoulders.
Oh my goodness.
He's fighting battles you don't know about, and all you have to endure is no sleep. Get out of here. You're wicked. You got pride. That's exactly how they talk.
This is incredible. It really is. I'm so glad that you're here sharing this.
This is
I mean,
exactly
very
how they talk.
insightful.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So was it just the one night that you had to stay in the garage?
It was just that one night. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. But I wanted to share that story to kind of let people know, like
Yeah.
this is what is happening on the inside. You
And
know,
I've talked to people that say that they witnessed or they were actually physically abused. Did you ever see that or that happen to you?
that didn't happen to me. It's so funny. I always, oh my God, it's. I think about it because I think it's hilarious. But I have seen people slapped on the face
Mm-hmm.
by David himself.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen people get on their knees to David, and he will slap them, and he's rebuking them, yelling at them. In fact, there's a guy there. If you guys know, you always hear his name. You will always hear David say his name. He's on the media team. You always hear his name. Tony, fix
Oh yes.
this.
Yes.
Yes. You
Tony fixed
know. I
that poor guy. Do you know if he's still there?
Yes, yeah,
Oh,
he is. I've seen the protests, and sometimes you see people on the cameras, and then he's still there, and he has a family there in Michigan. It's yeah, it's sad. But I'm gonna be honest, Tony, and I can say this about any full time person. I'm gonna be honest with you. I can say this about Tony. I can say this about all these guys, like regular people like myself. Love you can got some love, got families. But when you go there and because Tony himself was amazing to talk to, he was very down to earth.
Hmm.
But when he was told to do something from apostle, he became a different person. And that's just with anybody there. Like, and
Like
they will
what?
tell
Can
you,
you describe what he would become?
yeah, because like he became very nasty in his rebukes, very nasty, in your face, screaming at you, in your face, telling you how wicked you are, things like that,
Yeah.
and
Emulating
then
David.
emulating David
Yeah.
100%. And I remember David, it was during, I believe it had to be during the crusade. David had Tony working like unending work, because Tony, he's gifted when it comes to media. He's great with sound. He knows his stuff when it comes to that. And he's David kind of put him over that area. But there's things David wanted, like with certain things that I guess wasn't being done in a time frame. And I remember David walked in the sanctuary, and he screamed, "Where's Tony?" And he went over to where Tony was, and I saw Tony get on his knees and was saying, I'm sorry, I da 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 da." And yeah. And I remember, I think it was maybe a day after I mentioned it to Tony, and he was kind of embarrassed by it. He was like he didn't want to talk about it. Like,
Right.
yeah, yeah. I was like, I saw you on your knees or whatever. He was like, he didn't want to talk about it. Yeah.
Did you see David strike Tony?
Didn't see David strike Tony that day, or ever, but I've seen David strike other people.
Okay.
Yeah, I was the reason, and I was gonna mention because there was also one time I went to sleep upstairs, and I guess David had called a meeting. It was late night. And David would do that. He would call meetings anytime. You could be asleep at 2 in the morning. You'd be woken up. Apostle wants to meet with the staff, and you just have to get up and go to that meeting. That meeting can last for hours. But there's one time I guess I wasn't found. I mean, I was asleep somewhere upstairs in the Taylor, Michigan building, and all the men were called to a meeting. And I didn't hear about this until the next morning. But basically, David was. Uh, uh, telling the guys don't mess with the women, and he was rebuking them about it. And some people, it was told to me, slapped on the head and things like that.
Amazing. While you were there, were you ever deprived of food, or did you ever see anybody deprived of food?
Yes, I was, and many of us was. I always talk about Wild Horse because Wild Horse is kind of the start of the boot camp training. Then it led to Ocala, Florida, but Wild Horse was the beginning. And so, what's interesting, Vanessa, is that before the boot camp training, food was kind of like one of those things where you had to get an EBT card,
Yes. I was going to
and
ask you
then
about that.
yeah, you had to get an EBT card, and you were basically forced to do it, or you they would tell you you're not going to eat.
You're not going to eat. Yeah.
And then when you go and then when you go to get an EBT, you were told, do not tell them you live here at the church or associate with this ministry.
Right. So
You had to
they're
make
telling you to lie.
They're telling you to lie. In fact, you had to make up a story like they told me to say like, "Hey, you came from where you were, and now you're homeless because whoever you came here with, your friend or something, kicked you out." That's what I was told.
Right.
If I came from uh, Missouri, or if I came from Las Vegas, or
Right.
wherever you came from, you were kicked out. Now you're homeless. I need EBT. And after you get the EBT, you have to turn it in. They collected everybody's EBT, and then somebody was assigned to shop on our behalf. So that's how it was in the beginning. Uh, and then after that, and I have to say, and this is what I also noticed too. David watched a lot of online. He watched a lot of YouTube. He saw what people were saying about the ministry, things like that. If oh, these guys are not eating, they got to get EBT. And when David saw that, he was hearing things, or people were saying things that were known, he will change certain things up to kind of cover it up.
Hmm.
So now he started to, after years of EBT, he started to no more EBT. He started to pay for the food, or with a ministry card, or whatever money he was using to pay for the food. I don't know, but it
Hmm.
stopped with the EBT. And the reason why I can say what I just said is because I also noticed they were like, oh, men are sleeping upstairs in the Taylor, Michigan building. So what he did after that was when he heard that, he had us move to stay in Pastor Steve's house, the men.
Was that in Taylor or Detroit?
That was in Taylor, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like whenever he heard so much
Yeah.
buzz going on, now that I'm thinking about it, it's like he trying to change things up.
Right.
Um, but yes, but during the boot camp training, um, what happened was okay. Now this is the time. No more EBT. This is the time when they're using whatever they can. I don't know if it's Davis money, the ministry money. I don't know, but they're going out and they're buying food. But what will happen is because now in the boot camp training, if you're not making numbers, you won't eat.
Right.
Or if he do allow you to eat, it's just going to be a peanut butter and jelly sandwich or vegetables, but without any seasoning or salt on it. It's just plain and bland.
Mm-hmm.
And I experienced that. In fact, I remember one time he said, "Okay, if you don't make these numbers, you're not going to eat. But those who close good, you're going to have Cheesecake Factory."
Oh,
Yeah. And you gotta and this was during COVID. Now we're COVID at Wild Horse. COVID's outside,
mhm.
so you had to basically go and order it and bring it back and stuff like that.
Right.
And for like a couple days, honestly, Vanessa, I can say this on record, like I was, man, maybe I was eating bland food, but then there came a day I didn't eat anything at all because I wasn't making numbers, and they wouldn't allow you to eat. So I lied and fluffed my numbers so that I can get something to eat, honestly,
Wow. Wow.
because I
Oh
was
my,
hungry.
yeah, of course. My gosh. And that Wild Horse address, was that considered a mansion?
That was considered a mention. It was a smaller mention than all those other dimensions he got.
Okay.
But yes, he don't own. I know that they don't own that one anymore. There was a lot of people in the neighborhood actually that reported David because they were like, these people were like, who are all these
All these
guys in this
people.
house
Right.
going in and out every day,
Yeah.
wearing in suits in the hot sun, things like that. Just yeah, people were reporting it, and yeah,
You
so
all were
David,
wearing suits?
we had to. That
Oh,
was the part of the regiment to wear suits every day. And us guys, we didn't have any money, so we were wearing the same suit. The suit I came with was probably the same suit that endured throughout. I was there for the amount of times.
how
Maybe
would you, sorry, let me ask you that. How would you talk to David? Was it face to face, telephone, text?
so David had a you if you could write him on. David used Facebook a lot. He used Facebook a lot. I still have messages from him to this day that I can go back and read just to
Wow.
show you this guy's character.
Okay.
It's crazy, and I have rebukes from him personally on Facebook of him telling me things like "Don't eat," or "You're wicked," things like that. So
Mhm.
many things. It's crazy. It's crazy how much he used Facebook. That's why you look at the indictment, you look at what they're charging, and these guys ain't, the FBI is not lying, the government's not
Right.
lying about what's happening. That's David just built this hole for himself. But and then sometimes, so yeah, you couldn't, you couldn't, if let's say David was in a sanctuary or wherever he was, you couldn't just walk up to him. You can never do that. Don't
Really?
you oh my God,
Oh,
don't
what
do
would
that.
happen?
He
Did you ever
was
see someone do that?
I've never like seen someone do that. Oh, I remember I David was walking in the hallway. It was Taylor, Michigan. He had just made it, and he walked inside the building. He was walking in the hallway, and I was still new, right? And I was walking, but I think I was kind of in his way, so I had to move to the right. And I remember all he said to me, he looked back, he's like, "You're gonna get in my way like that?" And then he turned around and he kept walking.
Oh my
And
God.
then other people saw that, they were like, "Oh, you stupid, man! You stupid! You a fool, bro! No, you don't." That's how they talk.
Right.
Yeah, he was treated like he was, sovereignty. Like I
Yeah.
said, you had to get up at attention when he's in a room, put your hands behind your back.
Like he's
But
God, like he's the president or God or whatever.
exactly,
Unreal.
yes,
This is crazy.
unreal.
This is
And he
there's nothing biblical about this. I'm just if somebody's watching from that's still in there, look in the Bible. There is nothing biblical about this behavior. Please wake up. Sorry. Go ahead, Michael.
No, man, that you're so right. You're so right. And uh and that's the type of person he was. Like he would use Facebook from a lot, and if he ever called. Now there's times because he would designate, like, there's time I'm not he actually texts me. I can't remember if he texted me or called me, I'm gonna be honestly, but I just know he reached out and he told me to uh tell something to Michelle, like why she didn't do something or something like that. He would do that. He would do little things like that. And I remember I told Michelle, hey, David said this or this. She's like, okay. And I remember she mentioned it the next day in a meeting. She was like, you guys got to understand, sometimes David will come to you. She would say, like, I'm submitted,
Right.
to David. I'm submitted to this ministry. Like, even, you know, he reached out to Patrick and told me and corrected me through Patrick. David would do that at times. He wouldn't
Yeah.
even go to, but he ultimately always went through Michelle. But there's times he would go to other people to go to that person, but he always did it through writing. I Okay, so it wasn't a call because I don't ever remember getting a call from him personally. The only time he would call is when Michelle was on the phone, and she would come in and she was like, David's on the phone, and he's speaking on speaker. But he
Right.
kept himself he kept a distance.
Yeah.
He kept a distance.
Was it the reference to the alleged shutaway? Is that why he was away, or was he just doing other
Oh
things?
no, because
Okay.
that happened. The shutaway happened during um
Was it COVID?
right after, God, was it 2000? It was right before COVID. It was his last crusade. He said he was going for Shutaway. Because before that, remember, I started full time 2016, full time. And he was holding normal services and crusades. A lot of those videos where you see him like touching people and they're
Right.
getting supposed to get healed. I was there for those. I
Right.
was there, So for the beginning of the years I was there, for like 3 to 4 years, he was very active in coming to the Taylor, Michigan building where we were staying, here and there, to hold meetings or whatever, check in on us, stuff like that. And then the shutaway thing happened right before COVID, where he said he was going away. Yeah.
Do you know where he went?
Didn't know where he went. Nobody in the staff knew where we're supposed to know where he went, um, or where he supposed to be. But even while he was there, supposed to be in Shutaway, he constantly called us and held meetings all the time, 6 hours
Oh my gosh.
meetings sometimes,
What
and
was it
talking.
about? A
Oh,
meeting for 6 hours?
yeah. Sometimes if it wasn't a rebuke about closing, which that's always what the meetings were about, how we needed to close bigger. Sometimes he
Getting more
would
money? Getting more money?
getting more money, because there's times he would for example, like the mention in Ocala, or the mention in Ocala, Florida, when we were at Hager in Missouri. He told Michelle and some of the leaders, put the picture of the mansion on screen, like a TV, like show them. And then you saw pictures of the mansions. You saw like a little video footage of it. He says, and he would say, like, you see, guys, this is what we're trying to do. I'm trying to get this mansion for you guys. So you guys gotta now work and close bigger. You gotta use what I've trained you to do so that we can get this. That's how he would do it.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That is so weird because it's, I don't know. I mean, you guys aren't getting paid and incentivizing it as if you're interested in living in a mansion, but there's all these people living there. I'm just curious as to were people interested in that? Like
Um,
living in another mansion or
this is, and I've had a lot of time to think about it since I've been out. And this is the not the dilemma, but this is the thing, really. It's Vanessa, when you're deprived of
Yeah.
food, when you're deprived of your freedom,
Yeah.
when you're deprived of everyday essentials and things that are just good, and you only can get it under leadership or David, when those things are taken away from you, anything sounds fun and good whenever it's given the opportunity.
That's a
You
really good
know,
point.
oh, we're gonna be in a mansion. Oh, this man. Oh, wow, let's go. Or oh, we're going
Right.
to the park. We're going to the park today. Oh, yes. Thank you, David. Thank you for letting us go to the park.
Right.
That's what's happening.
Cheesecake Factory. Wow, we really hit the jackpot.
There you
Right.
go. Yes.
He deprived y'all so much that when there was something that is just pretty much ordinary to people having a meal from a restaurant, you guys were thinking that it was extra special.
Extra special. There'd be times he would say, "I want the staff to have a day off today. Just rest,
He's
watch a
doing
movie,"
it
because
so well.
he has his
Yeah.
soft voice too.
Yep.
I think we all have heard it in a
Oh yeah.
deposition.
He would do
you
it when,
know,
yeah. But then screaming, you'd hear. I
yeah.
mean,
And
when I
then when
sorry, go ahead.
oh no, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I was just gonna say, and when he would say that, like, have the let the staff have their time off, you have people crying, "Oh, he's so good. We don't deserve this. We don't deserve."
No.
Yes. Yes. That's what even Michelle will even tell us. You guys, Apostle's been so good. He's letting y'all have a time off. We don't deserve this. We're not even making our numbers. And he's that, and people crying, it's crazy. And then
This is.
the next day, and this, oh my God, this always happened. The next day, I let and he would use words like, I'm not to be derogatory, but pussies, niggas, I let you niggas, you pussy, stuff like that have time off yesterday, and you're taking my grace for granted. Why is it 6 o'clock and you only closed 10,000? That's how that went. This is
I
the
mean,
internal workings.
again, people, anyone watching this, for somebody that claims to be a pastor, it- but he claims to be even higher than that, talking to people like that. Where
Yeah,
is that in the Bible? Where is that in the Bible? Nowhere.
nowhere.
Jesus didn't talk like this. My gosh, it's
No.
it's just remarkable,
It's
Michael.
ma-
I mean, it's astonishing when you hear it. I mean, I know it because I've read the indictment, but when you hear it from somebody that has firsthand knowledge, such as yourself, um, well, tell us, how did you end up getting out of there?
well, Vanessa, I was actually kicked out.
Okay.
I was kicked out by David, and it was for what we went over in earlier, about not having relationships or anything like that with any
Yeah.
woman, flirting. I was kicked out by it because I was found. They found text messages, and they found what happened, um, between me and this one girl. And I remember that day. I was downstairs. This is Ocala, Florida, and probably on the phone. And I just remember one of them telling me to come to a room, a separate room from where everybody was. And then I remember Michelle calling this gentleman and telling him, take his phone and do like what you call where you wipe out the phone, kind of like all the memory, all that type of stuff. Because whenever you leave, they do that to your phones because they don't want you to have any like information from them, things like that. They kind of like just completely clean your phone. And this person did it. And then about four or five of the men, some of the men, came to me, and they're like, "No, I remember them saying, I can hear them. "No, let's not do this here. Let's take them outside." And they're like, "Get up!" And they were basically taking me out where we went through the pool area and then outside. Once we got outside, they threw me on the ground, picked me up, threw me on the ground, yelling and screaming in my face, having their hands on my shirt, screaming at me while I'm on the ground. How things like, "Apostle told you not to mess with the women. Why are you stuff like that?"
Right.
Screaming at me, things like that. Or you, All right, now you're out. He's done with you. I remember one guy saying, "This is it. You're out the kingdom. You're done. There's and when you're gonna go back." They knew that where I was going back to, the state I was going back to, and they were saying, "Oh, it's gonna be very bad for you. COVID all this type of stuff is gonna all these different things." That's what
Of
happened.
course. Yeah.
Yeah,
Did they
and
give you
then
the impression? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
no, no, go ahead. I'm
I
sorry.
was just gonna say, did they give you the impression when they say you're out, like you're out of the kingdom, like you're not saved?
Yes, yeah. Definitely,
Oh,
that is intermingled. Yes,
I'm
yeah,
so
like
sorry.
yeah. Honestly, um, and I remember one of the staff saw me on the ground, and I remember he came out. He's like, "You okay, man?" And they were like, those some of the guys were like, "No, no, no, come back. Don't leave him alone." Like. And then they finally told me to get up off the ground because I was probably on the ground for a little minute. Like I was
Were
shook.
you hurt?
I wasn't like physically hurt. I was. It was like, okay, so what was going through my mind? Because again, at the time I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, it's like, yeah, I'm done. This is it.
Yeah.
You know, this
Yeah.
is it. Uh, God, I guess I messed up, Lord. And I've done wrong to your best friend. Things like that.
Right.
And then I remember going on Facebook, and I remember, I think yeah, I text him on Facebook, and I was trying to apologize, and I still got his message today where it basically says, uh, basically he called me. He said, you're a deceiver and a liar, and now you shall have your own way with the devil. Those were his exact words. I still have it today.
Oh my gosh.
Now you shall have your own way with the devil. And he sent me home on a Greyhound, a bus, with no money basically. And also too, when I went home, all I had was a box with my clothes in it, and that box had like a hole in it. So I had to go to different Greyhounds carrying that box with the hole in it, trying to carry all my stuff, trying to get home to the state. Yeah.
During this time, did you ever talk to your family?
Through the years, I would call my family, my mother, um, here and there, checking in on them and stuff like that. But David also would always do corrections about, if if anybody's against this ministry in your family, your friends, you cut them off.
Hmm.
He would say stuff like that. So it was really, he kept like even one a distance between us and our families. That's why there's people there that haven't seen their family for years.
Yeah. And I've talked to some parents who have shared that they haven't seen their children in a decade.
Yeah.
Have you kept in contact with anyone that's still there?
Oh, I have. I
Okay,
know
don't
another.
name their names in case they get in trouble. If
Yeah, I
but
know. I know people who've reached out to him, and that's another thing too. Once you're kicked out, David, then, and I seen this a lot. He'll kick somebody out. Even when I was there, and I seen other people kicked out, he would kind of like the next day hold a meeting. Always happen. He will, if something like that happened random, or if you don't, or you be woke up early in the morning or something, and there'd be a meeting and be like, hey, this person was sent home.
Mhm.
They were disobedient. Da da da. So if you don't see them, that's why they were sent home, and that's kind of how it happened. And David would always have that. But there's people who were kicked out for different reasons. I know of a gentleman who was kicked out only because he wanted to uh, uh, his his home to see somebody that was passing away.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and there's times they allow that, but then there's times like David get mad at that for some reason. I don't know. He had mood swings, man. I
Yeah.
just, but yeah, and they reached out to me and they were telling me stuff that you see that it even got worse, and I was there for like 6 to 7 years, but even when I left, it's like it kept getting worse because I experienced the deprivation of the food and things like that, and the sleep, and I even was put in the garage. I know that, but then when I left, what started happening now was, now people, if they're not making numbers, they gotta not only go to the garage, they gotta go to a shelter, they gotta sleep on the street.
Right.
People, yeah, it got even worse. It just, it was just morphing into just more evil. It was just crazy, man.
Yeah, it escalated. So when you were there before you left in 2022, one of the consequences wasn't putting you out on the street or going to a shelter.
He would mention it, but it didn't happen.
Okay.
He would like it was almost like he was already, it was already in his mind, like, okay, this is what I'm gonna have to start doing. But
Right.
it he never did it.
Yeah.
But now when I got kicked out, and this guy's telling me, yeah, man, like this guy, the one who reached out to me, he's like, yeah, I slept on the street. I had to sleep out for like I had to close all day, and then I had to go outside and go to. He had to find some space. They would drive you like down the street, and you had to sleep somewhere, maybe next to a building or an alley or something like that. Yeah.
So, okay, and I don't know if you know the question. I didn't ask you this before, but if you are still in contact with anyone that's still in there, what's their thought? What are they thinking about what's happening right now?
Yeah. So the person I'm talking about, he's he was kicked out, and he actually went back. He went back, but then he was kicked out again. And
Oh
now he's
my.
out.
Okay.
Yes,
He's out. Okay.
he's out. Yeah. So if I'm not talking to anyone that's like currently there right now.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But this guy who recently got kicked out, this was like in the last year or so. So it was very, very recent. I think it was definitely before the raid. Yeah, before the raid. He
What a
was.
blessing that you did get kicked out.
Yes, yes. I've heard that. I heard these words before on Rich's channel. There was somebody else giving an interview. And this person who was giving an interview, this was a girl who was giving an interview. And that's another thing I do want to mention briefly. Like when you were there, I mentioned earlier, when you were there, there was a there was like a distance between you and David. Only when he would come and things like that, but there was a distance. So you really didn't know what he was doing. But then as I'm out, and you start to see, like, when I was hearing other people's testimony, and now it all makes sense. David himself dealing with a lot of women and things like that. I saw evidence of that when I was there. I had one lady telling me, who I was talking to on the phone. She was telling me, she was like, David's sending me messages, like telling me I'm beautiful and things like that. And I remember I was at the time, I'm getting, you're so in it. I'm trying to I'm not justified in a way, because I'm thinking maybe it's somebody else using David's account.
Hmm.
But yeah, but to come to find out, that's what was going on. So I seen things like that, but I truly understood it now that I'm hearing other people's testimonies and stuff. But I bring that full circle to say, I heard this person say that when you're out of there, or you're kicked out, or you go home, when you go, it's a blessing in disguise. You
Yeah.
think when you're leaving, oh my God, I'm cut away from the man of God, from the kingdom.
Yeah.
No, man, life is so beautiful.
Right.
Listen, Jesus is king,
Yeah.
and he ain't no respecter of persons. He listen. I'm free from that crap, that foolishness that I had drank, and I was very young. I was
Yeah.
20, and I went through it, but I know better now. After
Right.
being out, and I thank God for getting me out, man.
My gosh. That's amazing. I'm so glad you're out and I'm so glad you reached out. I'm so glad you came on here because I think that what you shared, it's definitely going to touch people. It's going to help people, encourage people. I don't think that this is a small situation. I don't think it is. I think that even with as many people that are talking about it on social media, I think that there needs to be 10 times that. I think that this case is how Rich Holmes um, refers to it, as a landmark case. I think that it is. I
Yeah.
think that it's going to, just based upon that video, and I'm going to share it with my audience in a minute after I let you go, because I know you have stuff to do today, but it's, I think it's going to escalate in regard to potential dangerousness, because you heard her essentially threatening the judge in that video.
Yes. Yes.
So we're going to
Yeah.
talk about that. If you if you want to stay on. So any last words? I know that you have plans today. And again, thank you so much for joining me. Is there anything that you would like to say before you go?
Yeah, I guess, I would just, in conclusion, I had to, when you leave, it is like you're starting life all over again. Prior to David, I didn't have any credit score or anything like that. I didn't.
Right.
Um, you're very young, and then if you did have credit, that whatever credit score you had, like you disappear from society for
Right.
however long you're there. And when
Yeah,
you
you're
get
not
kicked out,
filing taxes.
you're
You're
not filing taxes. You know what I mean?
right.
And
No.
so when when you you leave or you get kicked out, it's like you start. It's like you're starting from ground zero.
Yeah.
And I know in that moment, when I was it hurt so bad because it was like, I had to, when I got home, find a job, I had to start. But one thing I did realize, when I was away, was that, David really limit people. He told people, you're coming here, this is gonna bless your life, it's gonna bless all these different things, and you get there, and then it's a whole nother story. But whoever's there, whoever is still there, the one reason why I'm on this channel and speaking up is because I've heard other people, and it helped me to process things, to think about things, and to bring awareness, and it really, really did some type of more than help me. And that's why, I'm talking up, speaking up, because I want to help them. I want to help people that are still there, warped in that, and things like that. And that, yeah, when you get, it's like starting life all over again when you leave. But I'm telling you, God's gonna move. You're not gonna die. You're not gonna go to hell. You're not gonna get cancer. You're not gonna get ran over by a car. Those are the things David would mention.
Right.
Fear tactics and stuff.
I know.
But
That's
there is
so
life after this, after that ministry. There is glory. They're using that term. There is glory
yeah.
after this, meaning like he's being persecuted, but there will be glory after this. I want to take that and say there will be glory after you leave that place. You
Yeah.
know, and that's all. You know,
Wow. That's so good. Thank you, Michael.
it
I
was a
really
pleasure.
appreciate it. So you please keep in touch, okay? And
Yes, I will.
I've definitely enjoyed speaking with you and having you on. So, and again, thank you. And I'll talk to you soon.
Thank you so much.
All right, take care. Bye. Oh my gosh. That was just, it was very moving. And that was just crazy that he went through that and that the others are going through that kind of stuff. So, all right. I am going to play a video. So what I want to do is there's two videos I want to play. And so there is one of the prosecutors, there's five prosecutors, all right, that are prosecuting David Taylor, Michelle Brannon, and Kathleen Klein. And we're going to get into that. I'm going to go through that updated. It's called a superseding indictment. So I wanted to share some information, play a video by one of the actual team members, one of the prosecutors, because she is an expert in human trafficking. So one of the prosecutors, her name is Lindsay Roberson. She is a human trafficking attorney. She's a professor. She's an advocate for vulnerable populations and trauma-informed lawyering. She's based in Washington, D.C., and she serves as a federal prosecutor specializing in human trafficking and special victims cases involving vulnerable populations. And you know what? Everything that I've seen, I've learned, I've heard, I'm reviewing, I would say that a very vulnerable population is the people that are involved with KOGGC. It's no longer referred to as JMMI. It's Kingdom of God Global Church. So I am going to play this video so that you can hear from her. She made this, I think it's in 2020. So it's a 4-minute video, but it introduces her and you hear about her qualifications. So
My name is Lindsay Robertson, and I serve as the Senior Legal Counsel for the Human Trafficking Institute. In this role, I'm privileged to be a part of the Institute's mission of decimating human trafficking at its source by empowering governments to form specialized investigative units to prosecute traffickers.
Okay, why is this cut off like that? Why is it showing up like that? Oh, yeah, let's start it.
My name is Lindsay Robertson, and I serve as the Senior Legal Counsel for the Human Trafficking Institute. In this role, I'm privileged to be a part of the Institute's mission of decimating human trafficking at its source by empowering governments to form specialized investigative units to prosecute traffickers. Together with my colleagues, I co-lead our country project work abroad in Uganda and Belize, and at home in our efforts in the United States. The mission of the Institute is simple, but it is far from easy. Today, with the uncertain times we are all living in, the Institute's work is more vital than ever. At its core, human trafficking, whether it's for labor or commercial sex, is the coercive exploitation of another human being for a trafficker's profit.
Okay, I'm stopping it there just to hear that definition that she said, for a trafficker's profit. So, human trafficking in the indictment, you're going to hear, if you don't already know, 8 of the counts are forced labor. One of them is conspiracy to commit. So, that is, they're using humans for profit. So perhaps that's why she's being brought in. She's an expert in that area. Or perhaps because, they're still investigating, and perhaps we could see other charges. So I don't know the answer to that, but I find it very interesting that we have this woman who is very, very experienced, who's part of the team.
It is a complex crime that affects every possible demographic in every corner of the globe, including the United States. As a former state and federal human trafficking prosecutor, my experience has shown me that combating human trafficking effectively requires specialized knowledge and highly skilled justice professionals working together to achieve the same goal: holding traffickers accountable. In North Carolina, I prosecuted the first sex trafficking cases in the state and co-founded a victim service organization because there's no way to prosecute trafficking without also supporting survivors. At the Department of Justice, I learned that traffickers tailor their methods of coercion to exploit specific vulnerabilities of their victims, and that it often takes a skilled practitioner to prosecute a crime that can so easily be hidden in plain sight. The Human Trafficking Institute was founded by bringing together a team of subject matter experts, including former prosecutors, agents, victim service specialists, and researchers who work to empower the governments of other countries to build their own specialized units that allow them to stop traffickers. In order to assist those most vulnerable to trafficking, we must first empower the professionals capable of identifying and prosecuting the criminals who exploit them. We recently had the pleasure of introducing you to my colleague, Tyler Dunman, another veteran human trafficking prosecutor living and working in Uganda.
Okay, I'm actually going to stop it there because she's talking about somebody else, but she gives her qualifications. She talks about why it's so necessary to have someone experienced. I totally agree. So there's extreme confidence that this team that's prosecuting Taylor, Brandon, and Klein are exceptional. They have a lot of experience, and this woman has significant experience. So it's very good to see that. And all right. I'm going to get something else. All right, give me a second. I'm going to find it. Stop screen. Okay. Let me. This other video that came out yesterday. And it is, oops, it's not what I want to do. I really need to go to YouTube first. I want to play it. It's the one that I referred to that was done by Kia Jones. Second. All right, I'm going to go to Rich's video. That one. And then share. Okay. Sorry it took so long. Okay, so I am going to go through this. I want to play this for you because it's kind of crazy. Listen.
Is not. We're here to talk about the weekly updates that we're going to start doing now to give you an actual factual update that the news media is not going to give you. This is what we call Victory Report.
This is the Victory Report. Coming up next, hear how they're trying to stop Apostle Taylor from preaching the gospel, breaking his and Michelle's Sixth Amendment rights to a fair trial, and how they are trying to disintegrate a Christian church.
Apostle Taylor is in jail. And
All right, so you heard that. So that is what they're alleging, is that they're being persecuted for preaching. So you're going to hear this over and over. It's just throughout.
now he can barely even talk to us on the phone. But the inmates there, yet another revival has happened. I mean, it was only standing room. 3 guards come up to him and tell him, you've committed an offense and we're about to give you a punishment. We haven't talked to Michelle in 7 months. It breaks our heart every day. Oh, don't let me cry. And now she has no way of even supporting herself. She has no means of an income. She had a major heart attack in jail.
Okay, let me move it up a little bit, but you're getting obviously the media with the soft music and the I'm gonna cry and all this stuff. So this is apparently what they're going to be doing weekly, which is interesting, and you're going to hear why. So I'm starting and stopping this because I'm commenting on this. So if you want to just watch it full, I'm going to link Rich's video, Rich from Full Frontal Investigations. I'm going to link it in the description box. If I didn't already say that, I probably did. Sorry, I've got another computer I'm working on too. So, all right. So I've heard people say that, David Taylor's in the Wayne County Jail. He's not. He's actually in a federal prison. It's called FCI Milan. It's in Michigan. It's about, well, it's always going to be west. So it's probably about like 40, 50 miles southwest of Detroit. And this is a low security federal prison. And it's where people go after their sentence, but there are also people like David Taylor who would be in there waiting for trial. So that's why he's in there, and it's run by the Federal Bureau of Prisons. So it's a detention facility also for people that are waiting trial. It's not a local jail. And apparently he was using the phone there, which he is entitled to do. I mean, you could be in a county jail, you can be in a federal detention facility, or even some kind of other state facility. They do allow you to use the phone. So you've heard that he has been holding church lately online through a phone while in jail. Actually, he's in prison. Usually you hear me say, no, they're in jail, not in prison. Well, this case, he's in a prison. He's actually in a prison. So my understanding is they took away his rights to use that phone for that purpose. I'm sure he's probably using it for other reasons. I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, but my understanding is that he's no longer able to use it to hold church. Think about how crazy this is. This guy, he's being indicted because of his acts that he's doing in this ministry, this church. And then from jail, he's detained because there's no bond. He's waiting for trial. He's calling in and holding church and talking about what's happening to him and talking bad about YouTubers and saying that we need to repent. Oh, it's the God's going to get you. It's the same thing over and over again, talking about what the YouTubers are doing for money. And it's just never stops. They've got to say something to try to keep their people in line. So, all right, let me go here to, I'm probably going to need my glasses to look at the numbers here. All right. 240. All right, let's go to 240. 235. All right.
Your heart was troubled. This message is also for you, that you can come back home. And that's that message that Apostle's giving. He knows that the first 4 months we were advised legally not to talk. So we didn't. Well, guess what? It didn't work. So now we're out here, we're getting in the cameras. Even though the FBI took all of our cameras, we're using little bitty cameras now. And so for all of you that, you don't want to be a part of the ministry anymore because your family is telling you all these things, but you know in your spirit, man, something is not right about it. Come back home. Hear the truth.
Come back home. Come back and work for the call center. We need you to help us make more money.
This is the victory update that you need. Apostle Taylor has not stopped. He has gotten such a holy boldness, even bolder than how he was before in his chains and in these bonds. No different from Paul, no different from Aniphesarius, who helped Paul in the midst of his bond.
Comparing him to Paul, horrible, just horrible.
Because he wasn't
sorry. Just like Paul, that's what they're doing. It's just a lie. No, you're not being persecuted because of your faith. You're not being persecuted, and they're not trying to stop you from preaching. You've actually been found to have committed crimes, and they have indicted you, and you're going to have to go through that process. You're actually being prosecuted for federal crimes.
Shame. This message today is so that ye be not ashamed of the bonds that Apostle Taylor is carrying, of the bonds that they constricted Michelle with when they treated her inhumanely. And we're going to talk about that too. Oh, we're going to get there too, because I know a lot of you want to know about it.
So I didn't really hear her, and I could have missed it. Maybe we'll get to it. I didn't really hear her talking about how they're treating Michelle inhumanely. She's out on bond. So initially, when she was picked up here in Tampa, on August 27th, she was in medical because she had to have a stent. My understanding is she didn't have a heart attack, but I don't know. Obviously, I have not been able to look at medical records, nor do I think I would be. But my understanding is that she did have an intervention. She did have a stent placed. So I don't know what inhumane treatment, but they've got to be dramatic like this.
There are details that goes on behind prison bars that you would never know unless there was somebody behind those prison bars that you cared about. There is a reason why it is in all the Gospels of Jesus Christ. He says, when did you feed me when I was hungry? When did you visit me when I was in prison?
So if I didn't say it already, this is Kia Jones. She is referred to as Pastor Kia. I'm going to skip ahead to 5. All right.
That is what our Constitution was built on. And then he went further in the Declaration.
Let me just back it up, because she's talking about the laws and how it's so illegal what's happening to David Taylor.
Our founding father, Thomas Jefferson, he said, I have sworn on the holy altar of God, eternal hostility against all forms of tyranny, against man's mind. That is what our Constitution was built on. And then he went further in the Declaration of Independence to talk about the freedom of religion, that it is literally against the law. It is against the law to punish somebody all because they don't believe what you believe.
Where's that in the indictment? We're going to go through it. It doesn't say that at all. So she's lying here and saying that it's against the law to punish somebody. Well, it's not a lie. I mean, obviously it is against the law to punish somebody because they don't believe in something you believe. We have the First Amendment going for us through the Constitution. But she's claiming that that's what the indictment is about, that he is being prosecuted. Same with Michelle and same with, what's her name? I forgot, Kathleen, because they don't believe what the government believes. I mean, you would have to be really stupid to believe her version. There's an indictment. It carries evidence. There has to be probable cause. The indictment lays out the evidence. And I did it this way, where I had Michael talk about what he went through, because that's evidence. That's firsthand knowledge. That would be evidence. And you're going to see that when we get to the indictment, you're going to have to stick with me. I know this is a long video. You're going to hear things that he said that are part of that indictment because they're contained in text messages. Text messages are evidence as well. So to say that he's being punished because of what he believes in is just simply not true. He's being punished. Well, he isn't yet. He's just waiting on it. His trial's not till November. He has been indicted with crimes.
They said in the Constitution, even if you don't believe in the God that we love and the God that we serve, we won't punish you. We won't punish you because we know that the author of the book of fate, he gave man a free will. So our judicial system, including Judge Berg, is stripping Apostle David E. Taylor and every single person that is a part of KOGGC of their free will. That is why this case is unconstitutional.
Think she's getting heated? She is. So our judicial system, including Judge Berg, she calls him out, alleges that the judge is stripping Apostle David E. Taylor and every single person that is a part of KOGGC of their free will. Well, I don't think every single person that's a part of KOGGC has been indicted. You're going to hear her in a minute. She's going to invite the government to indict her. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy.
Judge Berg, why are you calling us an enterprise? Why are you not calling us a church? All because...
Let's call it an enterprise. That's why I've been calling it an enterprise. I call it a cult, but let's call it an enterprise because it is. And that is what Miss Sarah Cohen has been calling it. If you have access to any of the pleadings or the transcripts, I do. And that is what she calls it, an enterprise, because that is what it is.
You used to be a prosecutor for 40 years, and because maybe you knew Sarah Cohen, maybe she used to be your employee. Why? We are asking questions because we will not be silent. Here it is. Apostle Taylor is in jail right now. He was preaching every Saturday, and apparently...
Okay. I'm just going to bring that back because she is calling out the judge. This is insane.
Of the book of fate, he gave me. That is why this case is unconstitutional. Judge Berg, why are you calling us an enterprise? Why are you not calling us a church? All because you used to be a prosecutor for 40 years and because maybe you knew Sarah Cohen, maybe she used to be your employee. Why? We are asking.
She is accusing the judge and the prosecutor of colluding. That's what she's doing right there. Yes, she is. And she is very much heated up. And so they're not going to be quiet, she says. So I think that this is going to escalate.
Asking questions because we will not be silent. Here it is. Apostle Taylor is in jail right now. He was preaching every Saturday, and apparently somebody did not like it. Somebody didn't like the gospel being preached.
No, he was using the phone to preach, and he shouldn't have been doing that. So it's not that they don't like the gospel being preached, but of course they're gonna twist it and spin it that way.
So you want to ask me why I'm preaching from jail? Because Jesus did it. I feel the fire, God. I feel electricity flowing. I pray for every single person in Jesus' name.
All right, I'm going to go up to, don't need to hear him.
It is about the fact that you can experience heaven on earth. I am standing in the television studio of the Miracle Broadcasting Today studio that Apostle paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to create. Because
I forgot to ask Michael, did he help create that beautiful studio that she's so proud of? You saw it with their hard labor.
He had a visitation to heaven, and the Lord told him what he wanted it to look like. And it is gorgeous. You feel God's glory just being here. So here it is. The moment Apostle Taylor was preaching, the moment we broadcasted his voice to the world to hear the gospel of Jesus while he was in a jail cell preaching to his church. How is it that the next Saturday that he was going to do it again and y'all knew the plans to do it again, y'all moved him? Where is the real cause for justice? And that's what we're asking. And we're not going to stop speaking. You're going to have to just indict another person in your court case if you want us to shut up. But
yep, she just invited that. She just invited an indictment. Unbelievable. Let me just back that up because I don't
plans to do it again, y'all moved him. Where is the real cause for justice? And that's what we're asking. And we're not going to stop speaking. You're going to have to just indict another person in your court case if you want us to shut up. But guess what? If you do it again, we're just going to get louder, because the more you try to silence Apostle David.
Did you hear her? If you do it again. So he has lost his privilege of calling in. That's my understanding. If it does happen again, I don't know. I guess we're just going to have to see how things happen. I had serious Charles Manson vibes, and not because of what Charles Manson did. It's when I was watching this yesterday and I was texting Rich Holmes, and I was like, this is giving me Charles Manson vibes. And of course, he's too young for that. But if anybody's over 60, you'll know. And you'll know who that is. And there was a cult, and they referred to it as the family. And they had mostly females that were following him, and Charles Manson was in and out of prison and jail most of his life. And they had this cult going on in California, and it's referred to as the Tate and LaBianca murders. And so this was like in the late 60s. And I read the book Helter Skelter even before I went to law school. So I was very, very familiar with what happened, but I'll get into that in a minute. But this just gives me those vibes.
Taylor, the louder our voices are going to get, and I can guarantee you that.
She can guarantee that their voices are going to get louder. And if you do any research on Charles Manson, there's time, you can look at court TV, everything. What did they do? They were out there protesting, and they were out there every single day while the trial was going on. And there's more, but
we will not stop. If the Bible says if principalities and powers knew that by killing Jesus, it was to their demise, they would.
All right. Let's go to another. Okay. And wait, no. Okay. Let me just move a little bit more.
Has not changed. Our God is the same yesterday, today, and forevermore. And this is God's ministry. So if you really knew what you were doing by touching and putting your hands on Apostle Taylor, the type of
putting your hands on God's anointed. Don't touch God's anointed. That's what she's saying. Back that up.
Yesterday, today, and forevermore. And this is God's ministry. So if you really knew what you were doing by touching and putting your hands on Apostle Taylor, the type of exposure that was going to begin to happen to expose your corruption, what you're doing behind the scenes, I know you would have never done it.
Who's she talking to? Expose your corruption. Is she talking to the judge? Is she talking to the prosecutor? Is she talking to the FBI? I think there's a story here. I think there's something going on here that is going to get worked.
But it is too late. So government, we are sending you a message.
Oh, it is too late. Let me back that up so you can hear all without me cutting it out.
The type of exposure that was going to begin to happen to expose your corruption, what you're doing behind the scenes, I know you would have never done it, but it is too late. So government, we are sending you a message. Let Apostle David E. Taylor go. It is the voice of
sending the government a message to let him go. It's too late, she said. There are some very concerning things here, and I'm not one to, be dramatic or anything, but just in my experience, her tone, her delivery, the words that she's using, I feel that there is going to be an escalation.
Of so many others who have been healed, saved, delivered, and set free that want to see Jesus. They want to see a revival. They want to see a revolution, and they want to see justice. So our message today is let Apostle Taylor go. Let Michelle Brannon go. Let Kathleen Klein go. Let KOGGC go, because we see what you're doing. But more than us seeing it, God sees it. Another revival has broken out. And so the inmates were like, Apostle Taylor, they call him preach. They said, preach, you got to preach for us. And so Apostle said, okay, I'll do it. So here it is. The room is not that big. It's only about an 800 square foot room. They have a pulpit there.
I don't know how she knows all this. She's not in the prison, but she's explaining that allegedly David E. Taylor is preaching in the prison. Well, my understanding is that he's in solitary. So if you're in solitary, how are you preaching? I don't know. Just a question. All right, I'm going to move ahead. Let's go to 18. I'm going to move ahead quite a bit.
He said, endure, overcome. He said, for I will grant you a crown of life. So we don't stop believing. We don't stop trusting. And we're rallying together. We're protesting. Please keep Apostle in your prayers. Keep Michelle in your prayers. And please keep Kathleen also in your prayers, because they excommunicated her. She's no longer allowed to communicate with the church.
Right. That's a condition of your bond. There's also a word, and I may have skipped over it, but she talked about revolution. Well, the Charles Manson family talked about revolution as well. And you heard what Michael said about them preparing them in case there was an FBI raid. And that's been talked about in articles as well, where David Taylor would talk about himself being a general and that, you know, they had to get ready for war. So I think that this is very concerning. And let's see what happens with these. She's going to be doing these weekly, apparently.
I don't even know what to call this, guys. It is so crazy. How are you going to say we can't preach and we can't talk to the church and this is our faith and this country was built on freedom of religion? Where is the freedom of religion? Where is the freedom of speech? And I see the strategy that the prosecution is trying to use by not calling us a church anymore. They're trying to say we're a criminal enterprise.
Thank you, Apostle David Taylor.
No, that's because that's what you are. So they're very offended by that, but that is what you're going to be referred to over and over and over again each and every time Miss Cohen and any other prosecutor for the government gets up on there and talks. Moving
Entire lacking nothing. Why did you put that Apostle Taylor has the keys of the kingdom? Why did you put that he's Jesus' best friend in the indictment? As if that is a strike against him. That's his faith. Judge Berg, why are you not questioning the prosecution in this arena? We sense that there is a prejudice going on. You have helped the prosecution's falsified narrative that everything that they bring up in that courtroom, everything that you talk about is nothing in the indictment.
Everything that's talked about is the indictment, and everything she's talking about is not. So this is very concerning. She keeps bringing up the government, and she keeps on referring to Judge Berg. Why are you not questioning the prosecution in this arena? We sense there is a prejudice going on. So a prejudice because of their faith, believing that they're exercising their faith and that they're being persecuted for it, and accusing Judge Berg of helping the prosecution falsify a narrative. These are big words. I don't think she's very bright. I'm not being funny. I mean, these are big, big claims. I wouldn't want to be her. Let's just hear that again. This is really troubling.
Why are you not questioning the prosecution in this arena? We sense that there is a prejudice going on. You have helped the prosecution's falsified narrative that everything that they bring up in that courtroom, everything that you talk about is nothing in the indictment. It's nothing criminal. And I see the strategy that the prosecution is trying to use. Everything that you bring up is just to slander his character and who he is as a natural man.
Oh, we're going to get into this natural man. So she's accusing the judge of slandering David Taylor's character. Big, big claims.
And yes, he is a very natural man. Just like all the men that may be watching, you are very natural men too. But he is by no means normal.
So what she's saying essentially is he's better than you, Judge Berg. He's better than everybody. He's a natural man, but he's more than that. He's by no means normal. No, he's the apostle, right? We heard Michael, essentially stand to attention. Don't get in his way. The way that they treated him was as if he was a president, even more so than that. We heard from David Taylor's own mouth, from his pulpit, that he is the pastor supreme or apostle supreme, like a pizza. And he's above everybody else, and he's even higher than the Pope. So this mindset is in this person's mind. It's living in there, coming out of her mouth. She's spewing it out, talking about him as a natural man, but he's by no means normal. We just got to hear that again. This is crazy.
Everything that you bring up is just to slander his character and who he is as a natural man. And yes, he is a very natural man. Just like all the men that may be watching, you are very natural men too. But he is by no means normal. And so the way that you try to discredit who he is and the millions of lives that he has touched supernaturally by way of God's grace, and you try to discredit that by using who he is as a natural man, it won't work. So why are you trying to choose a narrative that paints a picture as if he is guilty until proven innocent?
Well, that's the process. You get indicted, and you have to go through that process of this thing called a trial. She seems to be very offended by it. And, apparently they're just so used to operating with their own rules that they, it's very twisted, very altered. So, all right, the last thing, and if you guys have stuck through this with me, I appreciate it. I'm going to have to move some stuff again, trying to get my microphone so it's always in front of me because I have a tendency to move it. And that's why people are like, I can't hear you. Well, I know I have this tendency to move it, and I need it right in front of me. So 5 attorneys for the prosecution: Sarah Resnick Cohen, lead attorney at the U.S. Attorney's Office in Detroit; Adriana Didell, U.S. Department of Justice, Forfeiture and Financial Litigation in Detroit; John K. Neal, lead attorney, U.S. Attorney's Office in Detroit. All 3 of them are lead attorneys, it says, by the way. Next one, Christina Randall James. She's from the DOJ in Washington, D.C. And then Lindsay Roberson, DOG, as well in Washington, D.C. And that's the video I played of her earlier. All right. So David Taylor's attorneys, he has 5 of record. I would like to say it's really just 4, because the second one that he has on there was a federal community defender, and I think that was a stand-in when his retained attorney wasn't there. So his first attorney that was assigned on September 8th, 2025 is Scott Rosenblum in St. Louis. The second one is the federal community defender, but it's not any one individual, it's just that office. And they were assigned October 9th, 2025, so a month later. Then a couple weeks later, Lawrence Margolis of the Margolis law firm, Margolis, in Ann Arbor. That is probably about 40 miles or so from southwest of Detroit in Ann Arbor, assigned October 23rd, 2025. Todd Russell Perkins in Detroit, assigned December 15, 2025. I actually had cases with him when I was in Detroit. So he's been practicing for quite a while, because I moved from there 20 years ago. So I remember Todd Perkins. Allison Krieger, Kriger at La Renee and Krieger in Detroit. She was assigned more recently, January 28th, 2026. All right. So the status of David Taylor, he has appealed that detention order. So he's the one that did not get bond. So he is being detained. He is being held until jury trial, which is in November. He has also appealed that. So there are going to be some more calendared events. There is a motion deadline, August 21st. So we've got a ways to go. The plea cutoff date with the pretrial hearing is September 30th. So if there is potentially a plea that's going to be taken, I highly doubt it. I really do not doubt. I don't even know if I said this. I was on Rich Holmes' channel. I can't remember time anymore. Was it? I think it was a couple of weeks ago. And we were talking about this, whether he would take a plea or not. People were asking questions. So I was talking about answering questions from a legal perspective. And I just don't see it happening. But you never know, right? So then the jury trial is scheduled for, sorry, my hair is like in my face, November 3rd. Right now, it is scheduled for November 3rd. All right. So Michelle Brannon, same 5 government attorneys against her. Michelle's attorneys, John Rogers from St. Louis, he was assigned on August 28, 2025. That's the day after she was arrested here in Tampa. Then federal community defender was assigned September 24th, even before David Taylor's assignment. But again, I think that that was just for the purposes of appearances before, in lieu of her retained attorney. And then, is this the last one? Yeah, she has 3 listed. And then she has William David Mueller of the same law firm as John Rogers. And he was assigned February 2nd. So just like 5 weeks ago. She is out on a $10,000 bond. I don't know how she's supporting herself. That remains a mystery. She's got the same deadlines for plea cutoff and pretrial of September 30th and same jury trial date. All right. Now we're going to get to Kathleen Klein. I heard that she's referred to as a prophetess. I'm not quite sure, but I don't know. I remember somebody saying that. She was indicted a month ago. All right. So same 5 government attorneys on her case. And she has one attorney named R. Michael Bellotta from Detroit. He was assigned February 12th. That's the day that she was actually arrested, formally arrested. So what happened with her, let's just get to the status for her. What happened with her, it looks like they allowed her to surrender at the Detroit courthouse, the federal courthouse. There was an arrest warrant, and then in handwriting, I looked at all this stuff on Pacer. So the arrest warrant that's dated February 11th, there was a handwritten note that says that she self-surrendered at the Detroit courthouse. So she was arrested formally on February 12th, 2026, but she also received a $10,000 bond that same day. So she got out that same day. So she never went to jail. All right. She has the same thing, plea cutoff and pretrial conference, September 30th, 2026. Same jury trial date, November 3rd, 2026. So there is a superseding indictment. And the superseding indictment goes on all of them. So when I first saw it, I was like, why is there a superseding indictment for David Taylor? Are there new charges? No. The reason for the superseding indictment is to add Kathleen in. So there's still 10 charges. And I'm just going to make it clear. Count 1 is conspiracy. And that's the conspiracy to commit forced labor. All 3 of them, David Taylor, Michelle Brannon, Kathleen Klein, they have all been charged with count 1. Counts 2 through 9 is the actual forced labor. And there are victims 1 through 8. There's 8 victims for those counts of 2 through 9, which is 8 counts. So 1 count for each of those victims. Those victims will not be named. They will not be, if you're in that area and you were like, oh, I'm going to go to one of these hearings, then you're never going to hear the name of any of these victims. So that's out. Even when the government and the defense and they are arguing a motion, they're in a hearing, the names are never going to be mentioned. I don't know how they're going to do it in trial. They might use initials. I'm not sure. I mean, they could eventually use their full names. We'll have to see. So then the last count is money laundering conspiracy, and that's Taylor and Brannon only. And out of those forced labor counts, 8 of them, eight of them, David Taylor is charged with 8, and then 6 Michelle is charged with. All right. So I'm doing this just to remind you what's going on. If somebody's like, okay, there's been all this talk, we have a survivor and everything, but what is he being charged with? I'm going to go through that. It might take me a bit. I hope you hang in there. These are the allegations. This is contained in the superseding indictment. Kingdom of God Global Church, KOGGC, formerly known as Joshua Media Ministries International, JMMI, is an organization that was led by David E. Taylor. Michelle Brannon was the executive director of KOGGC. Oh, here it is. That's where I learned. Kathleen Klein is an executive of KOGGC and known as prophetess. That's where I got it from, in KOGGC. Brandon and Klein assisted Taylor in managing KOGGC and carrying out Taylor's orders. Taylor calls himself apostle and Jesus' best friend. Well, you heard Kia over there getting upset. Why did you have to put that in the indictment, saying that he's being persecuted for saying that? Well, it's giving context. This is a fact. The facts are contained in the general allegation portion. It says he claims that he has had multiple face-to-face encounters with God and that God has given him the keys to the kingdom of earth, on earth. Taylor established his first organized call center at 20320 Superior Road in Taylor, Michigan. That is the building that we talked about in Taylor, Michigan. The purpose of the call centers was to use phone solicitors to raise money from donors, purportedly to support the operations and ministry of KOGGC. Taylor has since opened and operated call centers in other locations in Florida, in Missouri, in Texas. Taylor recruited individuals from across the country to work as phone solicitors at his call center. Each day, his call center workers were instructed to make a specific number of calls or raise a specific dollar amount. We heard that from Michael. Call center workers were unpaid. We heard that from Michael and others that I've had on here, and you probably heard that as well on other channels as well. KOGGC received millions of dollars in donations each year. Taylor used these donations to support an extravagant lifestyle, including a series of residences, airline tickets, personal vehicles, and luxury goods. KOGGC has received approximately $50 million in donations since 2014. Taylor also recruited individuals to work as his armor bearers. Armor bearers worked as Taylor's personal servants by fulfilling Taylor's demands. Taylor demanded that his armor bearers provide food for him, transport him, maintain his houses and cars, transport women from his ministry houses, airports, and other locations to Taylor's locations, and ensure that the woman transported to Taylor took Plan B emergency contraceptives. Armor bearers, like call center workers, were unpaid. Taylor frequently requested and received sexually explicit photographs and videos from female KOGGC JMMI workers. Some female workers were fearful of disobeying Taylor and sent Taylor what he demanded. If a call center worker or armor bearer did not fulfill Taylor's monetary goals or disobeyed an order, that individual was punished. Punishment included humiliation, sleep deprivation, forced repentance, additional work, food restrictions, physical assaults, and threats of divine judgment in the form of sickness, accidents, death, and eternal damnation. I think that Michael covered all of those here today. Brannon and Klein assisted Taylor in imposing and enforcing these judgments, these punishments. Taylor regularly claimed that if an individual failed to obey his orders and commands, they were defying God and would suffer in hell. So then it goes on, and I'm not going to go through each of these things, but it goes through so many. I was going to, but I'm like, oh my gosh, we're getting on 2 hours here. There's so many emails that are contained therein. And so, he refers to them as degenerates, telling them it's constantly, they're not going to eat, they're delinquents, they're degenerates, they have to close, they're not going to get food, they're going to go sleep in the garage. I don't care that you're tired. You're going to work all night and get up in the morning. You're going to go to the homeless shelter. There's some texts now that are included by Kathleen Klein, because now she's included. So she's saying that we need to take people to the street. There was a worker in poor health, and that they did not take that worker to the street because of the health issues, but she can be out in the stairwell and have other consequences as well, Kathleen Klein said in a text to a group. So many people slacking. Michelle says, I don't understand why they're not made to go outside. Klein texted, they need to get some serious consequences for their rebellious and stubborn behavior. And Michelle Brandon texts, I went out and physically put them outside. Well, Michael told us about some men physically throwing them to the ground. And tons of them from David Taylor. You have pushed God and I too far. So I guess he thinks he's on the same level as God. We know that, right? I'm done. Everyone go into the Tampa garage tonight. This will never stop until you change completely. That's on April 4th. And he does use the N-word in this one that Michael had referred to. I'm telling you, it's hot at night. It is. It's still hot at night. We have the AC on here. So just talking about punishment after, this is the complaint. It's just pages and pages about all of this. So I wanted to share that to update you. There's one more thing that I wanted to share because I talked about it on Rich's channel, and it's very interesting because it comes up from a transcript. Let me open. I did. Maybe I wrote it. All right, I'm going to do this by memory. I thought that I had it on this computer. So in a recent hearing, the prosecution brought forward evidence in the form of what's essentially a electronic diary that David E. Taylor has. It was in the iCloud. I'm assuming that this was through, remember, they confiscated a bunch of electronics when they executed those search warrants back on August 27th. So my understanding, and Rich Holmes knows, and I think he said that there was like 70, I can't remember what he said, but it was a lot of electronics. And so based upon the statements that David was making in these electronic recordings, he's admitting what he did. He's saying things like he has a bad temper, he abuses people, things like that. That's just from my memory. Unfortunately, I don't have it with me, and I just wanted to share that. So that's evidence that the government has against David Taylor. So that flies in the face of what we just heard alleged Pastor Kia talk about, that he's being persecuted for his faith. He's not. There's a ton of evidence, and there's evidence coming straight out of David E. Taylor's mouth. How they're going to handle it, I don't know. From the transcript that I read from that hearing, his attorneys tried to make an argument that, these were from a long time ago. But Miss Sarah Cohen, no, she said, I'm using the ones from 2025, his entries from 2025, talking about how he has such a problem with beating people and abusing people, and even suggests that, this is something that he just does. So I don't know how this is going to work out for him. I'll just say it now. I don't think this man's going to take a plea, but like I always say, you just never know. Based upon what we have seen so far, I don't see it happening. But this is my update on this case. I think there's going to be more coming out, even without having any hearings coming up until August and September, because of that video by Kia, that they're not going to stop and they're not going to shut up. And, as I mentioned, the Charles Manson trial, his protesters, they were out there protesting. The people in his cult, they were out there protesting. They were threatening the judge. They were threatening Vincent Bugliosi, the prosecutor. There's one clip, you can find it, where they're in court and there's cameras in there, which is amazing because this is like 1969, 1970. And Charles Manson has a pencil and he lunges towards the judge. So they had to get extra security for the judge and for the prosecutor, Mr. Bugliosi. The fact that David Taylor is asking for, and this is in a different video, he is telling, when he was on the phone and preaching from jail, he's telling them to get people out there to, he starts to say riot and he stops himself and he says to protest, and he wants 2,000 people out there. So just imagine where this is going. This is a case to watch. This is not going away. I anticipate that, maybe Kia will get indicted. I don't know. She's inviting that. But if she wants to up her game and continue talking like that and making threats against the prosecution and the judge, well, she can get what she's asking for. She might just get an indictment. We'll see. I don't know. But this was quite a thing to see. It's not every day that we see this. This is an organization, I'm going to say enterprise. It is an enterprise that's alleging that they're a ministry, and this is the behavior that we're seeing. Right? Take that in. Anybody that's watching this, that's still in the cult, please open your eyes. There's nothing that they're doing that is based upon scripture. David Taylor, Michelle Brannon, Kathleen Klein, they're not being persecuted for preaching. Read the indictment. If you email me, I will send you a copy so you can read it yourself if you would like. Maybe you're being lied to and you don't realize what's being said, what the evidence is. So I've talked a lot and this has gone on long enough. I'll continue to keep you updated on this. There was something else I was going to say. No. Oh, the Sean Foyt case. There was something I wanted to say about that, but of course I forgot. But I will be following that as well, because if you watched my last video, I had my friend John T on. He has a channel called John in Tahoe, but he also has an online church. It's called Remnant Church. And if you're interested in that, they meet on Sunday nights. And so that case against Sean Foyt, that's a civil case, very different from this one. And I'll be following that because that is, the complaint was just filed and what we're waiting on is Sean Foyt's response. In this case with David Taylor, what we're waiting on is essentially, more motions can be filed, but essentially we're waiting for that jury trial. Is it going to happen in November? In that hearing that I referenced, the defense attorneys were talking about how they had to go through so much evidence. I'm sure they do. There's a ton of evidence. Whether they're going to be ready for a trial in November, I mean, that's only, 7 months away. I don't know. I mean, that's not a lot of time for them to go through everything. It takes a lot of time to prepare for a trial, especially as extensive as this with the evidence that they have. So I'm going to continue to keep you updated, and I hope that to hear from you guys in the comments and hear what you have to say. Talk to you soon.